session. Myself, Hampika, Engineer of Electronics and Communication Engineering. Here today we are going to discuss about a research process and what are the types of a research and what are the methods of a research, which is very simple. I use it to combine all these things and I just use it to differentiate three of these. For any research, there are a few characteristics. These are the few characteristics what we mention. Research is directed towards a solution of a problem. And whereas for decision making, there are a few factors what influencing on a decisions. All these are the few factors. And coming to the types of research, whereas descriptive research is one of the type of a research and the analytical is the other part of a research. Descriptive research is a fact-finding investigation which is aimed to describe the characteristics of an individual, situation or a group, describing the state of affairs as it exists at a present. See, generally research definition itself, it is a scientific investigation for to reach their proper to expected output. So the descriptive research itself, it is a fact of finding investigation which is aimed at describe the characteristics of individual or a situation or a group or describing the state of affairs as it exists at present. Coming to the analytical research. This is a type of research which is primarily concerned with the testing hypothesis and specifying and interpreting relationships by analyzing the facts or informations already available. So, the type of research, we are going to the applied research, which is also called as action research, carried out to find a solution to a real life problem requiring an action or policy decision. That's why the research about to apply on a real time, which named as a applied research. Whereas this fundamental research is other type of research which is also known as a basic or pure research, is undertaking for the sake of knowledge without any intention to apply it in a practice. So academic research is a fundamental research, one of the best example. Academic research which always contains to gain the knowledge. The purpose of academic research itself, to gain the knowledge or to experience the research activities and without any intention to apply it in a practice. So that's the thing, all the academic research close with the prototypes. Whereas for sometimes based on their interest and their passion, they will extend this academic research which comes under the example of a fundamental research, going to be applied later with their special interest. But fundamental research, it doesn't include any other intention to apply in a practice. And it is undertaken out of intellectual courtesy and it is not necessarily problem oriented. And applied research or action research is carried out of finding solutions of a real problem, whereas fundamental research is giving a knowledge, even if the researcher going to be applied research or action research point of view. And the few other types which are very important is a quantitative and a qualitative research. Quantitative research, which is employed for measuring the quantity or amount of a particular phenomena by use of a statistical analysis. Whereas quantitative research is non-quantitative type of analysis which is aimed to finding out the quality of a particular phenomenon. Whereas the other thing is a conceptual research and empirical research. Conceptual research is one type of research which generally used by philosophers and thinkers to develop new concepts like creators, or to reinterpret existing ones, to break existing thing and to create new records. Whereas coming to the empirical research, which is a data-based research, which depends on experience or observation alone, which aims at coming up with the conclusions without due regard from a system and theory, which comes under the empirical research. Whereas I'll give like a understandable example in my own manner for a quantitative and a qualitative research. Just what was the difference between a quantitative research and a qualitative research? How is it interlinked? For example, if I chosen as a pharmaceutical industry engineer or a person to develop some medicine or to develop some drug to do research, the quantitative research which is involved to finding the medication by a researcher based on the weight of the chemical, based on the requirement ingredients adding in the chemical, and what was the amount we are measuring in a quantities, right? So it comes under a quantitative research. Whereas in the same stream, for as already the medicine formula is there, the medication was manufactured already, now I'm going to market it. Then I'll go with the non-quantitative type because I didn't measure the market. I didn't name the market in a quantity manner. So non-quantitative type of analysis which is aimed to find the quality. After getting the product, I am testing the quality of the product. Based on that, the demand of market used to influence on this product. So for any industrial research, there is interlink between this quantitative. For manufacturing, the quantitative research plays more role. For before marketing, for a testing, qualitative research to measure the quality of a product of a particular phenomena. This is one of the best example for the difference between the qualitative and quantitative research. Whereas the conceptual and empirical research again. Here also, as the conceptual research itself is generally used by philosophers. Whereas for any philosopher, they have their own philosophy. We can't measure either it is like a right, a true or false. That's a philosophy. So that's what, to develop a new concepts, they'll go with this conceptual research. And after creating some data into the media or some sources, the empirical research plays a role on these released conceptual videos or data. Because the empirical research is a data-based research which depends on the experience or observation alone. For example, I played the same video to multiple audience. It is their observation of alone which gives the review based on their perspectives. That comes under empirical research. And it is aimed to coming up with conclusions without due regard for the system and a theory. Is there any system to give like a feedback in such type as their alone observations? There is no particular system and a theory for empirical research. And qualities of a good research again. Always these qualities and doing the research is either a good or bad making it is like a stating is very, very tough. But still, there are a few qualities which comes under like a good research. Systematic. The systematic research always taking steps towards to reach the solution for a question. So it is one of the good quality includes in a research. And the logical. The logical thinking always gives you the reality of a research to not to distract from the research zone. So the logical research is other quality. Empirical research. Again, alone observations. Empirical means we are doing the research in my perspective, in individual perspective. And replicable. How it is replicating. And creative, which creative always gives good attention with the others. So how creative the research is going to be done. And use of multiple methods, because always the multiple methods gives more accuracy, more quality. For all these are the qualities of a good research. And then what are the need for a research then? To do research, what were the basic needs? Exploration. Exploring itself gives you a new thinking, a new era. As a human being, when you are going to explore, when you exploring, you will observe so many different things, which really gives you the thinking perspective in a novel manner. So that's the thing. Exploration is one of the basic need for a research. Describe. And how the researcher going to be describe their problem. So that was the discrimination is one of the basic need. And diagnosis. How this problem going to be diagnosis to get a solution. Hypothesis. Hypothesis is one of the best part not to distract from their research area, because hypothesis is able to test the particular situation based on the current time. Inductions and deductions. All these are the needs for a research. And what is research process again? We know research is a in scientific investigation to find a required solution. And we know the research is filling the gap between the expected question to reach the solution for the required question. Whereas research process means the research process consists of series of actions or steps necessary to effectively carry out a research, and the desired sequencing of these steps. See, to do research, every researcher will select their process, which consists of a series of actions or steps based on their necessary to effectively carry out the research and desired sequence of these steps, which is defined as a research process. The process chosen by a researcher to take a few series of steps or action and to produce a new knowledge or to offer a new manner of understanding present knowledge. This research process going to be help to produce a new knowledge or to offer a new manner. And what were the methods of research again? One of the method is a scientific method. Generally, what was the methods of research means? The method chosen by a researcher to do research process. One of the method is a scientific research. This method involves the techniques for investigating a phenomena, acquiring knowledge, correcting and integrating a previous knowledge. And science refers to the body of a systematic and organized knowledge which makes use of scientific method to acquire knowledge in a particular field or inquiry. So the scientific method itself, it is a schematic collection of data and their theoretical treatment through proper observation, experimentation and interruptions. So scientific method always used to attempt to achieve systematic interrelation of facts by experimentation, observation, and logical arguments, and the in the form of accepted postulates and a combination of these three varying proportions. Because science means the science which refers always the body of systematic and organized knowledge. The other words, few of the people always mention science itself, the existing nature. And basic postulates in a scientific method. These are the mentioned basic postulates in scientific method, which is release on empirical evidence and which utilizes the relevant concepts, and it is a committed to only objective considerations. It proposes a ethical neutrality. It results into probabilistic predictions. So the methodology is made known and it aims at formulating scientific theories. And the other method of a research is the historical method. See, the name itself mentioning the historical method, which involves the techniques and guidelines by historians use primary sources and other evidences to research and then to write history. The history always should be dictated by a current generation. History itself, it is a past. But now, based on the historians' primary sources and evidences, a current person who found about the past evidences, they used to write a history. That was the proof. And this approach may also be used with artistic project developments. So many architects, they use it to do these things. And which history architectures influences the current generation and they use it to implement on a current era with a fresh feel. So all these methods were chosen by these type of categories. So historical method and historical method application. Historical research can show patterns that occurred in a past and over time, which can help us to see where we came from, what kind of solutions we have used in past. Like a few wars even always take the reference of a historical references to implement on current time. So the understanding this can add perspective on how we examine current events and educational practices. Whereas I'll give one example, generally, the education pattern, there are a few traditional patterns which even followed by now with a huge brands, such as making them to relate with the practical work, and they will use it to earn some knowledge, then they are able to understand by reading the academics. This is one of the traditional method. Even now, so many people, even I use it to encourage the students to do the same thing. and which it involves a techniques and a guidelines by which historians use primary sources and the steps involved in the conduct of historical research. Here there are 5 steps. One is identification of a research topic and a formulation of a research problem or a question, and the data collection or a literature review, and the evaluations of a materials, and the data synthesis, report preparation or preparation of the narrative expositions. These are the few steps involved to conduct any historical research. This is a type of method followed by these steps. And what are the research sources? And there are mainly 2 types of research sources. One is a primary research source and the other one is a secondary research source. What comes under a primary research source? Which includes the collection of data not previously existent. Examples of interviews, surveys, speeches, or performances. And the secondary research. It always includes the summary collection. And the examples of books, journals, magazines, and electronic data, all these are the base for the researchers to choose their problem statement. So secondary research always have a database in the form of a library or in a form of a digital books. So internet. Nowadays internet is a globalized which always go through the preliminary, because we can't take it as like a standard. It is like very broad. But by using internet, we are really very easy to collect data. So secondary research always helps by using these internet sources again. And the research process. A research journey where are 2 important decisions to make. See, first one is what you want to find out about. It means the question, or what research questions you want to find the answers to. And the other one is how to go about finding their answers. We are able to find out what we are going to find out. We are clear. How? In which manner? So there are practical steps through which you must pass in your research journey in order to find answers to your research questions. So the path to finding answers to your research questions consists is a research methodology. And unit of analysis. Generally, one of the first decision in any social science research is like analysis of a scientific study. The unit of analysis refers to the person, collective or objective, that is target of an investigation. So this unit of analysis is referring to the particular person or a collective or objective that is target for investigation. Typical unit of analysis include individuals, groups, organizations, countries, technologies, objectives, such as. So for instance, if we are interested in studying people's shopping behavior, their learning outcomes or their attitudes to new technologies, then the unit of analysis is individual. It will change. Unit of analysis used to change based on the situation. Or if few people use it to study characteristics of street gangs or teamwork organizations, then the unit of analysis is the group. For example, in other case, if the goal of research is to find to understand how firms can improve profitability or a good make of good executive decisions. Then unit of analysis is a firm. So this unit of analysis is always dynamically choosing based on the situations. Whereas in the groups we are choosing different, and in shopping behavior we are choosing it individually. Whereas in teamwork we are analyzing the unit of analysis as a group. In a firm we are taking unit of analysis as a firm. So in this case, even though decisions are made by individuals in these firms, so these individuals are presumed to represent their firm's decision rather than their personal decisions. So this thing, always understanding the unit of analysis is important because it shapes what the type of data you should collect for your study and who you collect it from. From whom, again, is very, very important. If your unit of analysis is a web page, then you should be collecting the data about web page from actual web pages and not surveying people about how they use web page. Simply. If I would like to analysis about the people's psychology, then my unit of analysis should be in the form of collecting a survey of a different people, not from the web page of a people. So that was the difference. Although research can be exploratory, descriptive, or explanatory, most scientific research tend to be of explanatory type, that they search for a potential explanations of observed natural or a social phenomena. So here this is the theoretical plane which mentions a flowchart of construct A we have, then we are going the proposition to the B. If the B is interface with the empirical plane, on empirical plane again we are having two different variables, one is independent, the other one is a dependent. So theoretical plane consists of two variables and A is the proposition to the B, and which B is interlinked with the empirical plane consisting of a dependent variable. A is the interlinked with the independent variable. So this is the hypothesis which interlinking like independent variable and the dependent variable. The flow is going from the independent variable to dependent variable. And that's how the theoretical plane is relevant to the empirical plane. A term frequently associated with sometimes interchangeably with construct is a variable. It is like a very variable, like a etymologically speaking, a variable identity that can vary from low to high or from negative to positive, just like that. So in contrast to contrast, that don't know vary. It remains constant. And this is the other flowchart mention, how the intelligence and the earning potential. If intelligence is considered as an independent variable here, and which is the moderating variable which is mentioned by effort, always added to the intelligence which given to the academic achievement, which is mentioned as a meditating variable again. This academic achievement interlinks to the flow of earning potential, which is dependent. So how this earning potential dependent on a moderate variable, and how this dependent variable is affecting based on the independent variable. if a person is highly intelligent with a zero efforts, intelligence doesn't change, but still it is independent, but there is no use. This adder doesn't have any scope. If the person is intelligent, at the same time he added the effort, what he is supposed to do. He is capable, at the same time he is passionate. Then he obviously he'll keep the efforts. Then it is the adder. So then if we consider it as an academic achievement, any PG or PhDs, PDFs, such as, then it acts as a mediating variable. For sometimes, even though they didn't choose this mediating variable also, they directly reach their ultimate goal. But in between this, they choose a path of academic achievement. So this thing is adding with a certification to earn a potential. So that was how this dependent variable. This earning potential is always dependent by all the previous things like intelligence, effort, academic achievements, and again the researcher's interest and possibilities. And what are the concepts and constructs? See the constructs. Concepts have progressive levels of abstraction, that is a degree to which concept does or does not have something objective to refer to. For example, a table is an objective concept and we can point to table and we have images of characteristics of all tables in our mind. Then an abstraction like personality is much more difficult to visualize. So such as abstract concepts are often called constructs. So simply the interlink between the concepts and constructs is abstract concepts always oftenly called as a constructs. A construct is an image or abstract idea specifically invented for a given research or a theory building purpose. See, that's the difference, a very slight difference, but both are very interlinked of a construct and a concepts. And what are the roles of constructs then? Generally, a construct is an abstract idea which is interfered from a specific instance that are thought to be related. Then typically marketing constructs are brand loyalty, satisfaction, preferences, awarenesses, knowledge. So the research objectives typically call for the measurement of a constructs simply. Whereas there are customary methods for defining and measuring constructs as well. And here we are going to detail about the constructs. See the board concepts of it are topics of study. For SSC there is separate board. For Inter again we have a separate board. So on academics we have some rules of academic limitations. Again in this also we are going to study the topics in a manner of abstract, not directly observable, or maybe complex. Because if few things have multiple parts which is very interrelevant to things, then it may be complex. And examples of constructs as like aggression, love, intelligence, life satisfaction, based on their perspective of choosing, all these they use it to go through it. And conceptualization, the process through which we specify what we will mean when we use it to particular terms in research. And conceptualization produces a specific agreed upon a meaning of concept for the purposes of research. So the process of specifying clearly exactly what you mean by a term, or this process of specifying exact meaning involves describing the indicator we'll be using to measure our concept and the different aspects of the concept called dimensions, in a different dimensions, because conceptualization is a word which includes a concept and which is used to produce a specific or agreed upon meaning for a concept for the purpose of research. And operationalization. See, operational definition is very simple, which specifies precisely how a concept will be measured, the operations it will perform, and the process whereby researchers specify empirical concept that can be taken as indicators of the attributes of concept. Simply. See, these are the operational and measurements. There are generally three basic questions. What do you measure? How do you measure? How well do you measure again? In a simple manner, what we are going to be operationally measuring, and in how. And again, after choosing how, the path, how well do you measure? I'll give one understandable example here. For example, I would like to quantity of measuring in a particular stream called tech transfer. So what I would like to measure, how the technology impact is on a real time human beings, and what manner. I would like to, what do you measure is the answer that I would like to choose the tech transfer. How then? Generally, tech transfer used to happen with the technical streams, all the technical streams. In how? If I chosen the path of the IT sector, then the other question, how well do you measure by choosing this sector? Is this only the sector that influencing the tech transfer? Absolutely no. But still I am sure that I am measuring the maximum accuracy of influencing the human beings of tech transfer, because I chosen the IT sector, which is huge major part of my choice. So that's how these three questions are very, very important. Thank you. Thank you so much for your valuable listening. I'll see you on the future sections with other topics.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.